Yogi Schulz. You just heard Mark announce me, and so thank you to Mark and to Tim for inviting me to deliver this demystifying digital transformation presentation here at Untapped Energy this evening. I'm sure you've all heard references to digital transformation from the upstream oil and gas industry. Sometimes the claims for what digital transformation can do are quite fantastic. And not uncommon is this term is now associated with a lot of hype. Sometimes it's closely associated with advanced or even emerging technology, and that can be a very useful association. However, today we're going to hear me describe digital transformation that don't require high-risk technology projects. For the time that we have together, I'll provide an overview of digital transformation, what it is and what it isn't, and I hope to provide you with some ideas on how you can apply digital transformation back in your own company in a reasonable way and not in a large-scale, high-risk way. Now, Tim Chan is going to chime in from time to time during the presentation and give you some of the benefit of his experiences as his organization has embarked on the world of digital transformation. So I'm looking forward to hearing his contributions here today. As Mark mentioned, I founded Corvelle Consulting, and we're in the information technology related management consulting business. We've worked with lots of different oil companies in many different industries. I write a regular column in IT World Canada, and these columns focus on project management and systems development topics for IS executives. Okay, enough of that. So in many organizations, there's a lack of clarity on what digital transformation is and what the benefits are. Clearing up some of the confusion is what caused me to write this presentation. So let's go through this. Since it's our top priority, what do we mean by digital transformation? Zoom meetings, using Slack, digital first, data-driven, maybe customer-centric. What about agile and something in the cloud and making TikTok videos? And maybe we should start with what it doesn't mean. So lots of confusion, lots of ideas, some of it way off topic. So I hope at the end of this, we'll have made it a lot more clear and useful for you. So here's the outline of what I want to talk about today. First, we'll talk about some trends that are enabling digital transformation. We'll talk about some common business issues that you'll recognize where digital transformation can help. We'll talk about some definitions, some goals, some opportunities, some benefits, and we'll talk about future digital developments that create new opportunities. And we'll then talk about some common obstacles that organizations encounter as they pursue digital transformation and some lessons from digital successes and failures. So overall, the goals of the presentation are to enhance our understanding of digital transformation and trigger some thinking about how and where you can help your company benefit from this. So looking at this, in 2019, Deloitte ranked many industries by their digital maturity. Here's the zoom in. Deloitte ranked the oil and gas industry last in digital maturity. So the poor ranking tells us there's lots of opportunity to apply digital transformation in the oil and gas industry. So I hope that you'll take advantage of that, and you as individuals can provide a lot of leadership at your companies to make this all happen. So I invite you to think about that some more. So why are we talking about it now? What are some trends that are enabling digital transformation for more and more oil and gas producers? The first one is affordable information technology. The price of computing resources has plummeted in recent decades, and it's continuing. The price of application software continues to decrease, especially in view of the increasing functionalities that vendors are adding regularly. Another topic is big data and data analytics. So big data is about technology to manage the large data volumes effectively that most organizations collect. Data analytics is about better software to analyze large volumes quickly with low software developer effort. So these two concepts together leverage data and information technology to enable the data-driven oil and gas producer. Then We have SCADA and IIoT. Massive quantities of this data enable operational and agility, and you'll know that there's lots of this kind of data in the oil and gas industry. The fourth trend that's going on is the digital generation. A new generation of people, who we call the millennials, have graduated from universities, colleges, technical institutes, and they're entering the workforce. They've grown up with digital devices. They're comfortable with computers and tablets and everything else like that. And they expect to use digital technology in their careers. And that's helping organizations adopt digital transformation. So what are some common business issues? Maybe that you're struggling with these business issues. Currently, even while actively using information technologies, many oil and gas producers still rely heavily on various paper-based manual processes. For example, mineral rights, land surface leases, contracts, regulatory approvals, regional assessments, performance reports. A lot of manual effort goes into this. And sometimes we function with basic or no integration among various IT systems. For example, financial systems don't receive data from PA systems. Field operations systems don't see financial data. Sometimes we struggle with employees and collaboration and partner collaborations. Employees struggle to work collaboratively on the same project with the same data concurrently. Employees struggle to work with partners to share project data. Sometimes there's a lack of electronic connectivity with most of our trading partners. These are mostly product service vendors, and it might include product marketing or pipeline operators, governments, and regulators. Communicating with vendors happens all too often with email and attachments. We operate with marginal or poor data quality. Data quality has gaps requiring cleanup before real analytical work can in fact begin. And we work with haphazard data management practices. Data quality varies from vendor to vendor, such as seismic and well log vendors. Data quality varies from application to application, or indeed from region to region within those systems. And then sometimes we defer modernizing IT systems repeatedly. Every year we say we're going to undertake a modernizing project, but then we cut it at the budget. So obviously, oil and gas producers are successful despite these shortcomings. However, the increasing pressure and demands for cost reduction and with capable competitors competing for capital and talent means these shortcomings have escalated into serious impediments. And now digital transformation invites organizations to address these business issues by going beyond the routine work of the web or email and smartphones to improve their portfolio of IT systems. So let's look at a very detailed example. This is a typical invoice processing business process. And let's see if we recognize opportunities to implement digital transformation. So this is how the process proceeds through these 5 steps. So typically your staff looks at the system a few times a day looking for new invoices. So the first step is to confirm the vendor number and the vendor is active in the vendor data. And then the second step is to confirm that the provided well identifier is accurate and likely the correct well identifier. The third step is to confirm that the work description is reasonably complete and plausible for the well and the facility data. Once everything checks out, the fifth step is to actually pay the vendor by creating an EFT record. Now, this is all quite smooth and fully digital through the interaction of one or more people with various systems. But what happens when a data store is missing, meaning it's largely manual or unavailable? Well, now what? All of a sudden, the process breaks down, the effort to complete the work goes up, and delays occur. Opportunities for mistakes multiply, and we call this situation incomplete digital transformation. And then, of course, there are other issues, mostly data quality busts that can also occur. Examples include incomplete invoices, missing or inactive vendors, An unlikely well, inactive facility, incorrect financial coding, no banking information for the vendor, all kinds of problems. Digital transformations means to operate in a way that if as few of these issues as possible occur, and to conduct business as efficiently as possible with high data quality. Process disconnects, data issues are opportunities to implement high value, low cost, low risk data visualization. So let's talk about some definitions. I want to describe 3 definitions of data transformation that we often hear. First is a good one, transforming business processes and practices to help organizations compete effectively in an increasingly digital world. So we do apply or leverage digital technologies in support of improving business processes. Now we have a bad definition, using technology to conduct business in new and different ways. Don't implement new technology for its own sake. Do consider alternative ways of conducting the business for reduced cost or competitive advantage. And we have an ugly definition, implementing and operating cutting edge technologies. Don't implement cutting edge technologies that may not be ready for prime time because they will be an expensive distraction. Do experiment with cutting edge technologies to better understand their potential. The bottom line is that digital transformation is about improving business processes. Digital technologies are likely to play an important part in achieving this goal. However, technology should not be the primary focus. I think you have some observations about this. Tim, you want to jump in?
Yeah, first, thanks, Yogi. I'm so delighted to be able to support you in the presentation today. Hi, everyone. My name is Tim Chan, and I work at Suncor Energy. I've been there for just over 10 years, and I've worn many different hats there, everything from accounting to finance and planning to internal audit. And my current role is in the area of business transformation. Today, I'd just like to share a little bit of my perspective in being a sort of a front row observer of digital transformation that is happening at a large Canadian oil and gas company. And Yogi, when you were talking about some of the common issues that a company may face, that might be a catalyst for them to embark on this digital transformation journey, I can say that at my organization, we've encountered all of these. I'd say pragmatically, the very last point about deferring the modernization of certain applications has really led to the necessity to transform. And so we use an enterprise resource planning platform that is SAP, and have deferred its update to the point now where the vendor no longer supports the updating of this system. So a lot of this transformation came from a practical need. Now, in addition to just an outdated ERP, my organization has also found itself in a very highly customized process environment. I think everybody believes that they are unique and that their process is the most important. Well, what has happened over the course of many years is then you have a collection of all of these customized processes that makes it very, very difficult to not only support from a technology perspective, but then your data is all over the place. And so another impetus or a driver for this transformation journey is, well, how do we get back to where our processes are a little bit more standardized? Because in doing so, then that enables our organization to be able to leverage the data and to really drive value out of it. And of course, I think many would appreciate that the oil and gas sector has experienced a number of challenges in the last decade. Everything from political strife to market access challenges to wildly fluctuating commodity prices. So all these things have the pressure that is put on an organization, and some of this is also driving the need to have to transform. You can also imagine that a lot of those stressors put stress on the people of the organization. And so it's not unexpected that a number of recent employee surveys would indicate that even the culture of the workplace is suffering. And so part of the transformation is also a culture transformation, let alone it being a technological or a digital transformation. And then just on your last slide there, Yogi, about the definitions of transformation, I do find that slide very humorous because I have a number of colleagues that would define transformation by all three of those terms. We have seen where people believe that a digital transformation is everyone getting a new Windows Surface Pro. Others would see transformation as the reliance on or having to transform its underlying processes to move away from this customized approach and then being able to operate in a more efficient and standardized manner. And then, of course, we do see, particularly within leadership, the good definition of transformation. That in order to get to a place where you are more competitive, that you can operate more effectively and more safely, there has to be a holistic transformation. So one of the taglines, particularly for our ERP upgrade, is "This is not your parents' SAP." So I do find it interesting that on one of your previous slides about the millennials, that being a growing demographic of the workforce. Well, it's really hard to attract a younger talent to an organization if you're struggling with spreadsheets that keep breaking and where nobody knows how to debug a macro. And whereas this generation of younger talent, they're attracted by tech companies. And so they are digital natives, as you've mentioned, Yogi. They've grown up with iPhones in their hands. So how can an organization or even a sector overall attract that demographic to join its organization? Well, part of it is the value proposition is at least having more contemporary technology. So Yogi, those are some of my initial reflections. I want to pass it back to you.
Well, thank you, Tim, and look forward to hearing what other contributions you want to make during the course of our presentation here today. So moving on, what are some of the goals? To respond to business issues and pressures I described earlier, and to better leverage digital technology, many organizations seek to make smarter, data-driven decisions faster. They leverage assets and capabilities more efficiently for growth, stem the erosion of market share and margin, and exploit new technology components. And specifically on the software side, I'm thinking about cloud computing. And it was interesting that the ITIQ guy, of course, talked about that, Khalid, and open software packages, software as a service, and on the hardware side. We're starting to see some augmented reality headsets, drones, the industrial Internet of Things, tablets, smartphones, all of that. So here's a set of about 100,000 data sources full of bits of well data. Please consolidate and integrate them into one meaningful data warehouse. I'm sure if I ask for a show of hands, there's more than one person who's been asked to do that. While this request is indeed a digital transformation project, be careful about taking on ridiculous projects or making commitments that will be difficult or impossible to fulfill. Often managers have no idea how difficult data integration is. In every case, data integration work is preceded by major amounts of data cleanup effort. Be very careful to manage expectations about how much effort and elapsed time this work will take. Project managers are often bludgeoned into committing to budgets and schedules before anyone has any credible idea of the issues the project will face or to achieve its stated goal. In this situation, selling a proof of concept is an excellent way to explore the likely issues while not committing to any deliverables that anyone expects to move into a production status. Start projects with the smallest, cleanest data sources where you can anticipate you can deliver the most business value and have the most interested end users sign up to participate in the project. With that small project success under your belt, you'll typically have built some credibility to tackle the next and more likely ambitious project. So is that you in this cartoon here, Tim?
Oh, I'd say it's even more than 100,000 data sources. Certainly, we have quite a lot of challenge in being able to drive value out of data, and so that actually is one of the underlying principles of our company's transformation. Is how do we create value from data? How do we enable all that are in this company to make data-informed decisions? And so a lot of that is a bit of a mindset shift to start looking at a company's data as an asset, not just as a byproduct of existing processes. But in order to get to that mindset, there needs to be a little bit of help. And so you need to have the governance to effectively store and to mine the data to achieve its full value. And so as part of the transformation, there is then the standing up of an enterprise data framework. So this would be a dedicated central group that is taking a look at just how data is being generated and collected and will be used in the future state. This is also the group that would drive some of the definitions, the governance, the cataloging, the creation of enterprise data warehouses and data lakes. To think about having your bronze, silver, and gold levels of the way that data is being handled. And so I think those are signals of the type of maturity that is needed to fully realize the potential benefits of transformation. The other component that I like to highlight is a data culture. I know sometimes we talk about a culture transformation, but there actually is a data culture that needs to be in place in order to achieve those transformation objectives. Because you can have the best platform, the best technology, you can even have the best way to store your data, but it's the individual employees that are interacting with the data all the time. And if there isn't that set of norms of how it is that you view the data as a valuable asset, you will never be able to unlock the potential of that. And so there are different ways to drive that data culture throughout the organization. You can have structured learning opportunities, such as through an academy, to be able to equip folks with data literacy. There are also grassroots groups that can then also help to drive some of this data culture. And so Yogi, you were talking about having small pilots or proof of concepts to gain those quick wins so that you can start gaining some credibility. Well, a great place to try out some of these things in a safe manner is in these grassroots groups. So back to you, Yogi.
Okay, great ideas, some good learnings there. Thank you, Tim. Moving on, so let's talk about some digital transformation opportunities. Here's a few paths. We can eradicate the remaining paper-based manual business processes to enable a comprehensive view of the organization's data. We can integrate IT systems to enable a cross-functional view of the organization's activities. Cross-functional view greatly reduces departmental silos and encourages cross-disciplinary collaboration. And Tim kind of touched on this a little earlier. We can support seamless employee and partner collaboration for process improvement and sharing of knowledge, trends, and intelligence. We can implement electronic connectivity with larger trading partners to improve supply chain effectiveness. We can boost data quality to enable predictive data analytics. This opportunity supports the data-driven decision-making and reduces the risk of making poor decisions based on misleading data. We can enhance data management practices to improve the value of the organization's data and the culture that Tim mentioned. We can modernize aging IT systems, perhaps using software as a service to achieve a more comprehensive digital support. As you listen to me, I hope this list of opportunities has triggered a thought about some digital transformation projects that you could undertake at your company. What are you doing in your company, Tim?
Well, certainly all of these opportunities are real that you've just listed, and it's probably not too difficult for anyone that's in this meeting today you don't have to look very far to realize that those opportunities are there. There is the obvious economic benefits that drive some of these opportunities. In the oil and gas sector, a lot of assets are pretty mature, and so maybe previously you could rely on organic growth to drive and to fund the organization's trajectory. But nowadays, it's harder to start a multi-billion-dollar project to increase the company's production. And so organizations like mine will have to be a little bit more innovative in thinking of how can it still create that economic value for its shareholders. And so part of the transformation journey is looking at what type of additional free cash flow that such a journey can unlock. There's obviously some efficiencies that can be gained if you deploy certain technology or processes. But there's also being able to leverage advanced analytics in a way that creates even more value with the existing resource base that you have. The other that is really worth mentioning is about this innovative mindset or this culture. I know we've talked about culture already a few times, and it's no coincidence that a culture transformation is a key part of any digital transformation. And I do appreciate V's question about, well, does this then cause an upheaval or disruption to the typical command and conquer style of management? And I think it will have to. One of the tenets or I guess hallmarks of having a transformed culture is that you are innovative or that innovation is welcome. Now, if you can imagine that for a lot of these oil and gas companies, they have built up years and years of success by having more of a fixed mindset. They have to ensure that they produce their product reliably. They have to do it safely as well too. And so having a very risk-adverse approach has actually worked very well for a typical oil and gas company. But for any organization that's going to embark on a digital transformation, they need to start opening up to different ideas of trying things, realizing that not everything you try is going to be successful at the first go, and to leverage those learnings in order to make some adjustments. So this type of fail fast, innovative mindset, this culture, is not common in a lot of traditional oil and gas organizations. And so it's one of the things that has to be worked on with a lot of intention in order to make the full value proposition for digital transformation a reality. So back to you, Yogi.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Appreciate those observations. Okay, so what are some benefits of doing this? And I think, again, Tim touched on some, but the first one always is reduce operating costs. Often optimizing business processes with digital technology improves turnaround. It makes it easier for employees to do their job. We can convert actionable data into actionable intelligence. I mean, I think you've heard the phrase, we're overrun with data, but we're always short on actionable intelligence. Here's a good example of converting the data. So what we have here is a series, each line is all of the horizontal wells for a given operator. So the best operator is at the top and the worst operator is at the bottom. And the chart shows monthly production. So the difference between the best operator and the worst operator is 4-to-1 at the beginning, and it narrows down to 2-to-1 many years later. So the difference here between the best operator and the worst operator in drilling, completing, and producing horizontal wells is high digital data availability, data integration, and excellent collaboration among the various professionals involved in producing these results. So if you're looking for a tangible example, not just general goodness, but really bottom line benefit, this chart is an excellent example of that in the oil and gas industry. So we also have software benefits like increasing agility and innovation. When we can supplant legacy IT systems, transform organizations to be nimbler and quicker to respond to changing stakeholder expectations, market trends, and technology advances, our organization works better. We can provide a universal employee experience. What I mean by that is that it doesn't matter where a person is, when they're working, how they choose to interact with the organization systems, it all works properly. And we leverage newer technology for business value, not for their own sake. And the examples, of course, we've discussed are cloud, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, machine learning. So what are the opportunities that are available to us in the context of the software packages you may already be using? The first opportunity is to consider, where are you closing the gaps between systems with Excel today? Which software packages are you not licensing that might have value to your company if you replaced your Excel with them? Field production operations is a great example because it's an area where Excel is used extensively. Another example is financial reporting. The second opportunity is which software packages that you are using already are not well integrated. And here on the right is a list of data entities that should be shared among the relevant software packages at an oil and gas producer. So the question you might want to ask yourself is, if I can integrate more of these, can I add value at my company? The third opportunity is, which software packages are you licensing but not using widely or not using fully? Perhaps some software packages are used in some divisions but not others. Perhaps they're only being used partially. So by answering these questions, typically identifies digital transformation opportunities that are modest in scope, low risk, cheap to implement and operate, and significant in business value. So have you identified some of these at Suncor, Tim?
Absolutely. I know a lot of times when people think of digital transformation, it's what are you adding to what the company has. But part of it is actually, what are you removing? And so that idea of taking a look at all the tools that you have and doing some sort of house cleaning is something that is quite relevant to a digital transformation initiative. And so our company is going through a bit of a simplification exercise where they're trying to rationalize more than 1,000 different applications that are being used to do exactly what you've just indicated here, Yogi. Just try to get the best value in the most sort of optimized portfolio of tools. So maybe just as an example, many here may have used the SurveyMonkey as a tool to gain some insights on how people are feeling and to get some additional data. So we recently had to decommission SurveyMonkey just because it turns out that there's many tools out there that can do the same thing. And I know some of the initial reactions were one of revolt because a lot of people have gotten accustomed to using a certain tool. And sometimes it's difficult to change your mindset around something. Speaking of, I think, reliance, you talked about Excel. I really do think Excel is a bit of a gateway drug. It's so easy to use for any of your daily work tasks and processes, but it's really hard to get off of. And so even as you're talking about financial reporting, there is a common occurrence of accountants and finance and planning people using Excels with macros to try to achieve the reporting objectives. But yet VBA-based macros do pose a cybersecurity risk as well too. And so there's also an initiative to remediate the use of macros. At the very least, we did not just go cold turkey and just remove Excel altogether. I think there was a recognition that there's such a heavy reliance on Excel that it would actually be almost a bit of a journey in itself to try to find the right alternatives. So there are lots of safer automation tools that are out there that can achieve the same reporting objectives. But again, a lot of this is a mindset shift. So there is a culture piece to that. Okay, back to you, Yogi.
Okay, thank you, Tim. So here's an example. Henry, it's for you. Apparently your heart is about to fail. Okay, so we all want to predict the future. In upstream oil and gas industry, predictive maintenance to reduce unplanned outages remains a huge opportunity that's only been partially explored. The relevant applications include production planning, logistics, financial capacity. And what makes this tough is when you think about the requirements of these applications, they include diverse data groups, huge data volumes, predictive data analytics software, modeling capability, fast response time. Due to the variety of data involved and the volume of this data, predictive maintenance is a valuable application that arises from digital transformation. And I invite you to think about that. So is this your grandmother here, Tim, on this slide?
I think more and more we will find that all aspects of our generation spectrum will be very in tune to this. And we're seeing more and more how artificial intelligence is just showing up in our daily lives. I'd say that from one of the benefits of digital transformation is the way that you resort your data and make it accessible. So you can use it for things like artificial intelligence and machine learning. And already we're seeing some of the benefits of that from a oil and gas production perspective, where we are applying aspects of machine learning to optimize some of our production or extraction. So this is where tools have been built now to complement what some of our operators are doing and providing them with advice as to which site would be the best to focus your resources to extract the most of that natural resource. We've also partnered with AltaML to try to develop a pipeline of advanced analytics talent. So this is, I think, a good signal of how being able to leverage your data and apply elements of machine learning can truly help to unlock the value of that transformation. So certainly it's important not to downplay the importance of having good data science and data scientists within the organization. And at the same time, to empower the other aspects of your organization to be data literate and data savvy. And so this is where having different data personas really helps to determine, as an accountant or as an auditor, what type of data literacy should I have in order to support this journey. So certainly, I do appreciate the approach that it has to be holistic in nature, and not to discount the value that having good structured data can bring, because it gets unlocked through artificial intelligence and machine learning. Back to you, Yogi.
Thank you, Tim, for those observations. Okay, so let's just talk for a moment about some of the technologies. So let's move beyond using digital transformation for small business improvement to entire digital applications that leverage the corporate data you have and aren't exploiting very much. Digital transformation applications can solve various data and application problems that are creating frustrations at the enterprise level. Examples of these applications include enterprise search, which creates the illusion of enterprise-wide application integration across structured and especially unstructured data. It makes it easy to access all your data, especially data that used to be hard to define. Then there's the knowledge-based applications that capture corporate intellectual knowledge and experience and make it easily accessible to everyone in the organization. Machine learning are advanced pattern matching applications that can identify issues and opportunities in your data. Master data management is about identifying and highlighting high quality, high confidence data that helps organizations use and report only a single source of truth. Many organizations struggle with this problem. Metadata management is about managing the origin and the versioning of the data that you have. Predictive maintenance applications minimize unscheduled outages that we've discussed before. Supply chain applications all of a sudden are a big deal in our post-COVID era. Everybody and his dog seems to be having problems here. And in oil and gas, they avoid project slowdowns due to missing components. Examples of computing infrastructure that advance digital transformation include cloud computing, where we're outsourcing the operation of our computing infrastructure to a vendor. Data and analytics, it's about analyzing the data we have for business value. Graph DBMS is a new DBMS or comparatively new DBMS technology that focuses on managing relationships in large data volumes. This is quite different from what we've have widely implemented, which of course is the relational database. And there you don't understand any relationships until you do a join. And whenever you do a join, that's expensive. Then we have the industrial Internet of Things. It's about the myriad of sensors that acquire digital data for applications. Robotic process automation is advanced software to better support process automation. Now, tablets, even though many of us use tablets now, I believe there's still many opportunities to use tablets in a business context that remains to be explored and remains to be implemented. So you might want to think about which of these technologies can help you improve in your business. Now, the future digital transformation developments, what does the future look like? Many predict that these technologies that I want to share with you on this slide will have wide application in the exploration and production business. Now, starting with artificial intelligence, obviously humans make most decisions today. Artificial intelligence is about software making decisions more autonomously with less human supervision or involvement. Good oil and gas examples include seismic interpretation and gas plant or refinery operation. Then there's augmented reality, which merges the real world with the digital world. It can improve operations and repairs by bringing component data onto the screen for staff to see and evaluate, reduces mistakes during operation and maintenance, eliminates walking back and forth between the component location and the field office. And the next one is blockchain, which enables non-refutable, transparent, audible business transaction among partners. It can transform the oil and gas industry supply chain networks, contracting, and joint ventures. And then we have the concept of a digital twin, which is a digital representation of a physical object. They help producers plan construction, commissioning, and decommissioning work. They reduce project costs, risk of accidents, and probability of rework. And then we have hardware advances, computing hardware advances that increase performance and occasionally even reduce costs. Things like non-volatile memory express, user programmable solid state drives like we have in our laptops and are increasingly found in data centers as well, field programmable gate arrays, graphic processing units, and programmable network interface cards. And then we have robotics are being employed more and more. They are machines that automatically and repeatedly perform work processes. They work more consistently than humans, and they work in dangerous or hostile environments, such as gas plants. Another technology that you've heard about, 3D printing, is additive manufacturing. It can reduce the cost of parts and components, and despite their slow speed, can improve delivery times for complex components for compressors, pumps, and valves. Now, while all this technology is available in various states of maturity today, it typically requires a huge business case because there are implementation risks. But expect that costs and risks are going to go down into the future, and these developments will become more commonplace. Okay, so let's talk about what are the obstacles for achieving all of this vision of the future and these opportunities that Tim and I have been describing. So the first one here is the lack of C-suite support in some organizations. Executives are paid to be skeptical. So ensure that you can communicate your business case succinctly. Problems managing or accessing data. Not surprisingly, digital transformation projects require lots of high quality data. As we discussed earlier, the lack of quality data is a common issue. Be very explicit in your plan to spend resources and budget to improve data quality and data management processes. A lack of collaboration or cooperation across various silos in the organization. Most projects with digital transformation in mind cross organizational boundaries. There's no way around that, and that's where the value is. So you need to facilitate and ensure that the departments involved are in fact interested to participate, and you can bring them on board. The next problem is project budget overrun. It's really easy to underestimate project cost, as difficulties will occur that require additional effort. Try to add contingency dollars to your budget. Lack of resources or funding. So don't start a project without all the pieces in place, thinking that the rest will appear later. The rest never does appear. Lack of skilled staff to deliver projects. Well, we just heard that in the update here from ITIQ. Some digital projects require specific applications, technology skills. Make sure you can find those skills. Challenges in the existing or new technology. New technology by definition is new and therefore often comes with low reliability or software bugs. So you need to include more dollars in your budget and extra time in your schedule to address that. And sometimes there are complexity issues, often in terms of the integration. So you're going to encounter some people change management issues along the way as you implement this. So what was your experience with some of these obstacles? I'm sure, you know, with you involved, Tim, you guys just skated past all these obstacles, right?
They're obstacles because they do require a lot of intentional effort to overcome. I will say that I think some of the ordering of this is very reflective. And even James had put in some of the stats into the chat window there. That a large number of these digital transformation initiatives are initiated from the C-suite onwards. So certainly, I think lack of support is typically not an issue. So I think rightly articulated here in this chart here. I think where there are definitely challenges, maybe if we're able to expand on that last one, implementation complexity, trying to do a digital transformation in the midst of a pandemic, as well as having either downsizing or significant reorganization within the organization, relocation of offices, merger and acquisition and major commercial transactions. Because as you know, a company doesn't ever stand still. There's always many different elements that are moving. The challenge is that sometimes the people that are involved with driving the digital transformation are also pulled into some of these other equally important and critical initiatives. And so it does sometimes come down to lack of resourcing, maybe human resources. But with all of these complex things happening, they all claw away at your ability to execute a digital transformation effectively.
Thank you. Okay, so what are some lessons from digital transformation successes and failure? Focus first and foremost on the business opportunity, not the technology potential. Then listen to your end users, delight them with your improvements. Don't believe that their comments or challenges to your plan are no longer relevant in the digital world. They are. Prioritize people, process, and behavioral change. These topics of change and addressing that change are more important than the technology. Then avoid pilot purgatory. Don't just conduct pilot after pilot after pilot. Propose projects that solve real problems where you can move your solution into production use. Fail fast, learn fast. Tim touched on that. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Set expectations that small failures will occur. Approach work with agility. Be willing to significantly revise your scope as you learn. Avoid working under a burdensome hierarchy. Now, I know it's easy for me to say that. It's tougher to do that in large organizations, but make an effort. Recognize business transformation takes effort, whether digital or not. These are not slam dunk simple projects, but they are valuable. Comments there, Tim?
Yeah, this is a great list of lessons. I think if I were to reflect on some of the initial lessons that we've seen, is a digital transformation is complex. Like we talked a little bit about the complexity in the previous slide, but it really is complex because this isn't just a laptop upgrade or a refresh of an app. This is impacting the entire ecosystem of your organization and in a very significant way. And so I think a lesson learned is just don't underestimate the complexity that goes into a digital transformation. I also like your third bullet about people. A lot of times the focus tends to be on the processes or maybe the technology, and then people end up being on the back end of that. And sometimes we see that just in the way that we are prepared for change. So this is organizational change management. That includes everything from just getting into that mindset of preparedness, having the right training, the communications. Seen many times in many initiatives that the people component of it gets prioritized to the end. And so what ends up happening is then there's a lot of pressure on the people to try to drive a lot of the deliverables. And people are not robots. So if you put enough strain on humans, there will be a breaking point. And so it's important to just realize that that aspect of it upfront is really critical for the success of a digital transformation. And then just related to people, there's also a psychological component to it as well too. I think we all agree that humans tend to be change adverse. We like certainty. And so anytime you introduce change, particularly significant change into a system, it sets off a whole raft of different psychological responses. And so it's important that as you're embarking on this journey, to have that in mind too, to have also the right maybe psychological support networks in place, because it's not an easy journey. It's doable, but you want to make sure that you have the right support structures for people.
Thank you.
Okay.
Those are some good points of how to achieve success and minimize the failures. Okay, so to wrap this up, digital transformation is receiving lots of attention because the benefits to the business are real. The concept isn't some fantasy that consultants have dreamt up to increase their billable hours. Successful digital transformation can be achieved with modest projects. You don't have to launch high cost, high risk, bet the farm kinds of programs. So work hard to avoid that. Every organization offers opportunities. They're often not that hard to find. Listen for whining about unproductive busy work. That's frequently a digital transformation opportunity. So here's some recommendations I invite you to work on. Start, simply start. Show some initiative. Don't wait for someone else to tell you. Start anywhere. It doesn't matter where you start. Often financial reporting processes need improvement. Sometimes data loading processes for subsurface interpretation are tedious. Frequently field data gathering and reporting processes are clunky. Start small. Often improving administrative processes are a place where you can deliver small, quick wins. Identify irritants. What are the inconsistent numbers on reports? How is that annoying management? Where is rework occurring due to bad data or convoluted processes? Identify project sponsors. Identify a middle management sponsor for your improvement ideas. That person will provide support and communicate the results around the organization. Assess risks. Nothing you do is without risks. Understand the people change your improvement will cause and address it. Go easy on the technology. New technologies always add risk to your project. Focus first on squeezing more value from the information technology you already own. And read some of the vast numbers of available resources about digital transformation on the web. Read some of the resources that are listed at the back of this presentation. There are many pages of resources at the end of this presentation. Okay, so now we're ready for some questions and some discussion. And maybe Tim, you'd like to start us off?
Yeah, and maybe just one final remark. I know a lot of times in these large initiatives, there's kind of this common saying that, oh, 80% of major initiatives fail. And I think sometimes we simplify the language and it lets us off the hook. It almost sets you off actually in a bit of bad way to pursue digital transformation. Because if you're thinking that 80% fail, then you're already setting yourself up for failure. I think one of the things that's important is, okay, so it is complicated, it's hard to do, and maybe statistically 80% of these type of initiatives don't meet the stated expectations out of the gate. It's a worthwhile exercise to define, well, what does 20% success look like? What does 30% success look like? Inevitably, you're going to have a business case for digital transformation that says you're going to achieve all these things. And the reality is that you will not. But with what you can achieve, how does that continue to create value? And how does it build the foundation so that you can then work on the rest of what it is that you want to accomplish? And not just give up on the fact that, oh, well, it's a failure. So I think that's an important aspect to keep in mind if you're embarking on this type of transformation journey. So Yogi, thank you so much. Really grateful that you helped us through this presentation. Lots of great thoughts there. A number of questions have come in through the chat window, and we can do this collaboratively. Maybe I'll read the question. You can take sort of the first crack at it, and then I'm happy to supplement.
Okay, so before we jump into that, I hope you found this presentation helpful as you consider how to apply digital transformation at your company. If you've got some questions, you can certainly contact me. And I'm just going to very briefly show you that these are some of the resources that are at the back of the presentation.